And now Dr. Lee Grady's Economic, Euthanasia, and Eugenics. Eugenics.
I ask that after this presentation you don't declare me brain dead. I can get plugged in here. And you need a preliminary version. I think that I'm getting a screen testing itself. No, you're okay. Oh, here we go. All right, we're in here now. All right, here we go. Doctors Lynch and Clay and Dr. Colleton have set a high bar for being scary or representing people with serious personality problems, but I shall rise to the occasion. And let me see, I guess, yes, we do want to see the slideshow here, so here we are. Economic, Eugenics, and Euthanasia. You've heard it before. 7 years ago, I gave a paper on this topic because I had perceived that within the next, at that time, 25 years, I believe that there is a very good chance that even in the United States, and I think we're about going to be the last, but even in the United States, we're facing a period of serious resurgence of eugenics programs in euthanasia. That was my thesis at the time. Now, what are the modern drivers of this? At the end of the day, it is an economically unproductive or burdensome life that has been since the time of Francis Galton, who really got the modern eugenics movement going. That's basically the measure. Now today you have the sociobiologists talking about O.W. Wilson's ecological footprint, and that we all need energy and water, and as they know in Arizona and California, this is not a humorous topic, and that's a good example. People don't realize that most killings out in the early Old West were not shootouts in a dusty street. It was somebody hitting somebody else with a shovel over water rights. So demographics, the ratio of age to young, which is very high in places like Japan and some others, exceedingly low in Africa, where it's very bottom heavy for people under like 5 or under 10 years old. Immigration is causing demographic changes, not least in Europe. There are a whole list of threats, all of these things that go bump in the night. You've heard a number of them already today. I'll be concentrating on just one in a little while. The essence, though, is that politically, in the elites, national power is seen as a function of national productivity. If your productivity drops, your national power relatively drops. That was the engine behind the Nazi view that led them into some eugenic and euthanasia programs. That will never go away. Issue. Now, here's the prospects today as I see them, updated for 7 years. The first thing is, in what do we do about trying to resist anything having to do with eugenics or euthanasia that we would think objectively or as Catholics as being morally wrong or at least suspect? The first thing is the perceptual progression. The first issue is loss of respect. I'm informed that I guess at least since Immanuel Kant, it has been loss of respect has been the basis for ethics at all. Passive euthanasia is what people talk about. You know, you just don't give somebody medicine or anything, or you don't do anything to help them out, and that's passive euthanasia. It goes on all the time. It has always gone on all the time, and it was because I suppose Stalin's view was that he was practicing passive euthanasia by starving everybody out. There is, however, something sleeping around, and that is called duty to die. You actually may have a duty to die because you are economically a burden, or burden your family. Not economically, you can be a rich man and be a terrible burden to your family because of your caregiving requirements, your body odors, and a number of other things. This seemed to start in the philosophical community, some philosophers, and other philosophers piled on and said this, at the end of the day, this is a totally irrational concept because there is no such thing as a level playing field. It's particularly given to what's known as free riders, and the only way to get rid of free riders is to enforce it, and then it's no longer an option for you having a duty to die. You now are going to die because your government says so. Then there's active euthanasia, which is a nice word for killing. I start my paper there with a quote from G.K. Chesterton that eugenists are euphemists. Any of these people deal with this stuff. They want to talk about a nice death. And you can get into arguments about what is or is not a nice death. I've heard of young Irishmen having very great concepts of breweries and some other ways of dying, but not everybody has the same concept of what is a good death. Here's the order of battle we're going to be facing. First of all, we have established in our social context, sometimes for decades, sometimes for centuries, the sociobiology concept, which, by the way, once they realized everybody saw that they were materialist and utilitarian in philosophical terms, they've changed to talking about evolutionary psychology. These are the people who basically are the most extreme. I don't want to label them because that's really small stuff. But the most extreme example might be somebody like Peter Singer, who says there's no difference in value between a human baby and a baby seal. Yeah, that's it. Now, the dyadic instinct, them versus us. Now, that one's good for millennia, okay? Stereotyping. This was something that Walter Lippmann, a very famous columnist, came up with, and that you stereotype people, and once you label them, you've got them.